There's a cafe on the corner between your apartment and the train, and every single morning on your way to work, you stop and you buy the same thing. A medium coffee, $4, handed to you in a paper cup by a barista who has learned your order and your face, but not your name. It is the smallest, warmest, most reasonable purchase in your entire day. It costs $4. You do not think about it because nobody thinks about $4. $4 is nothing. $4 is a rounding error. $4 is the price of feeling for 90 seconds on a cold morning, like a person whose life is under control. Now imagine that on one particular Monday, two versions of you walk out of that apartment. They are identical. Same job, same haircut, same tired eyes, same $4 in the same pocket. The only difference between them is a decision so small, it should not matter at all. One of them walks into the cafe and buys the coffee, the way he always has, the way you always have. And the other one walks past the cafe, makes the coffee at home in a travel mug for about 40 cents, and takes the $4 he did not spend and puts it into a simple investment account on his phone, into a boring fund that owns a little piece of nearly every large company in the country. That is the entire difference. One coffee, $4, one Monday. And from that Monday forward, you are going to watch these two identical men slowly become two completely different lives. For the first week, there is no difference at all, except that one of them is mildly annoyed. The one who invested the $4 misses the cafe. He misses the warm cup and the 90 seconds of feeling like a person under control. His travel mug coffee is worse. He feels, if he is honest, a little ridiculous, standing on the platform with his 40-cent coffee while 100 people around him hold their $4 cups like small trophies. He has saved $20 by Friday. $20. It is not enough to feel like anything. It is barely enough to notice. He almost quits the way almost everyone quits because the reward is invisible and the sacrifice is not. But he does not quit, and the $4 keeps moving every weekday from his pocket into the account, while the other man keeps buying the coffee. After 1 year, the difference between them is still almost nothing you could point to. The one who spent it has had 260 perfectly nice mornings holding a warm cup. The one who invested it has in his account a little over $1,000. The roughly 1,040 he put in, plus a small handful of dollars in growth that he did not work for. $1,000. After a year of going without. It is frankly an underwhelming number, and if the story ended here, the man who spent the coffee would look like the wiser one because he got 365 warm mornings and the other man got $1,000 in a slightly worse commute. This is the trap, and it is the reason almost nobody does this. The thing about $4 a day is that for a long, long time, it looks like it is not working. The man who invested it spends years watching a number grow so slowly that quitting feels not just tempting, but rational. After 5 years, he has put in around $5,000 and the account holds maybe $6,000. After 10 years, he has put in around $10,000 and the account holds maybe $15,000. The growth is real, but it is quiet, and quiet things are easy to abandon. And every morning the cafe is right there, warm and golden and $4. Asking him a question he has to answer again and again and again. And then, somewhere past the 10th year, the strangest thing begins to happen. The thing that no one can show you in the first week because it does not exist in the first week. The number starts to move on its own. The growth in a single year starts to rival the amount he is actually putting in. His $4 a day are now standing in a room full of other dollars that his $4 earned, and those dollars have started earning dollars too, and the whole thing begins, very slowly and then not slowly at all, to lift off the ground. After 15 years, the man who skipped the coffee has not put in some enormous fortune. He has put in total, around $19,000 of his own money. The price of one coffee a day, that is all. The exact same $4 the other man was handing across the counter every morning. But his account does not say 19,000. His account says something closer to 35,000, and climbing faster every year because the engine has finally caught. Meanwhile, the other man, the one who bought the coffee, your other self, the reasonable one, has after 15 years a collection of memories of warm mornings and a paper cup in his hand and absolutely nothing else to show for the roughly $19,000 that passed through his hands $4 at a time. He did not waste it on anything dramatic. That is the part that haunts the story. He did not blow it on a sports car or a gambling habit. He spent it on coffee. on the most reasonable, forgivable, invisible purchase a person can make. He spent his future $4 at a time, every morning, with a smile, and never once felt the moment it was leaving, because the leaving felt like nothing. It always feels like nothing. That is exactly how it gets you. After 25 years, the gap is no longer a gap. It is a canyon. The man who invested $4 a day has somewhere north of $100,000 sitting in an account he mostly forgot about, generated by the single most boring decision a human being can make. Repeated until it became enormous. And here's the detail that turns the whole thing from a math lesson into something that will sit in your chest. That is more money than the cafe itself is worth. The little corner cafe, the one with the barista who knew your order, the building and the espresso machines and the lease and the name over the door. The man who skipped the coffee for 25 years now has enough in the account his coffee money built to walk in and buy the entire cafe outright and have money left over. And in the version of this story that you should let yourself imagine, that is exactly what he does. He walks into the cafe on an ordinary morning, the same cafe, the same corner between the apartment and the train, and he buys it. Not the coffee, the cafe. And the first thing he does, as the new owner, is stand behind the counter on his first morning and watch the door and wait. Because he knows that any minute now the other man is going to walk in, the reasonable one, your other self, the one who has bought a $4 coffee here every single morning for 25 years and has, to show for it, a wallet that is exactly as thin as it was the day they split. And the door opens, and there he is. The two of you look at each other across the counter, the man who invested the $4 and the man who drank it, identical and not identical at all. And neither of you says anything cruel, because there is nothing cruel to say. One of you made one small choice on one ordinary Monday and kept making it. That is the whole difference. So the owner, the one who skipped it, pours a medium coffee. The same one, $4, and slides it across the counter to the man who spent his future one cup at a time. And he says the only thing there is to say, which is, this one's on me. And he means it. He can afford to mean it. He can afford it because of every single morning he didn't. Now come back out of the story, because here is the part that matters. The part that is not about coffee at all. The coffee was never the villain. A $4 coffee is a small and human and lovely thing, and a life with no warm cups in it is not a richer life. It is just a colder one. The lesson was never that you should hate the coffee. The lesson is that $4 a day is not $4. $4 a day, given enough time, is $100,000. It is a cafe. It is a choice you get to make at 50 that the other version of you does not. The small, invisible, reasonable purchases are not small at all. They are just disguised as small, wearing the costume of a single morning, when they are actually the slow, steady leak through which an entire future quietly drains away. You do not have to give up the coffee. That was never the point. The point is to understand, all the way down, that the $4 is never just $4, that every small daily thing you do not think about is a vote for which of the two identical men you are going to become. They started the same. Same apartment, same job, same $4 in the same pocket on the same ordinary Monday. One of them understood that $4 a day was a future in disguise, and one of them understood it 25 years too late, standing at a counter, holding a coffee that someone he used to be had finally earned enough to give him for free. So the next time you are standing in line on a cold morning and the cup is warm in your hand and $4 feels like nothing at all, let it feel like something. Not guilt, just truth. Because somewhere, on the same ordinary Monday, the other version of you is walking past the cafe with a 40-cent coffee and a quiet little plan, and in 25 years, exactly one of you is going to own the building. The only thing that decides which one is the choice you are about to make, the one so small you were not even going to notice you were making it.